because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Testing, 1 2 1 2, testing. Hello. Is it recording?
Yeah,
Are we on?
we are live. Sure, welcome back to the Go Track, everyone, the podcast about golf and golf adjacent stuff. This is the 2025 Masters Review. Truly one for the ages. I have never watched a more dramatic, confounding, bipolar sporting day in my entire life. If you couple that with the characters on display, JDV, for me it was like watching a Shakespearean drama. You had the tragic hero, Rory McIlroy, you had the protagonists, Bryson and then Rose. You had a future hero even popping up in Ludwig Aubert, and even a few old villains like Patrick Reed showed their faces. One for the ages, and I just, it's going to be really, really tough to top that. JDV, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think in the recent years, this one has to be up there with sort of my top 3. It's firstly, let me get this out of the way. As South Africans, it's a late finish, and you've got to be really committed. Well, not really committed, but you need to be committed to watching the final round. I think you need to sort of clear your Monday morning meetings if you've got any. I think Fuad said it well. It felt like the whole of Monday I had sand in my eyes. I was so tired. The last time, there's a couple of times that I remember being that riveted at the end of the round. You know, the Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm sort of rounds where the guys run away with it. You can sort of see going into it like, okay, well, I might as well go to bed and catch up with this in the morning. I did the same with Jordan Spieth when he won when he collapsed in 2015. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed. This is like a done deal. And then woke up to
You missed it.
the internet exploding.
Danny Willis.
But I think the other one I was going to say was the Louis Bubba playoff was another one that obviously most South Africans were awake late into the night, riveted to their TV. But yeah, obviously to the one at hand, Rory McIlroy's W at Augusta has got the monkey off his back, put a green jacket on there instead. And I really do think it was probably, if not the best, then one of the best majors we're going to see in our lifetime. Just in terms of the drama going down the stretch, we were even treated to a playoff. And yeah, I think you mentioned it before you got on here. It was tough because even though it was a sort of 1:30, 2 o'clock finish, you're so flipping adrenaline pumped that you weren't going to sleep then. So I mean, I went up to bed. Kath woke up. She says, "Holy shit! It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. What have you been doing this whole time?" I was like, "No, it's like not only that, Kath. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, but I'm like, I'm gonna have to read my book or something to like calm down a bit because I was absolutely vibrating with bloody excitement after that." I think I must just say when Rory missed that par putt in regulation, I was like, put my face in the pillow on the couch and was just like, oh, flip, man. Because I also knew not only was that like, it's another hour worth of now Oaks faffing around trying to get to the playoff, like Justin Rose arriving fashionably late to the tee box there. But yeah, what a finish. I mean, again,
I think I threw a pillow across the lounge when that happened. I was besides myself when Rory dumped that approach. I mean, I kind of felt like it had that moment. Like, I mean, we can go through it, but there were so many moments in the round. But I felt like that shot he hit on the 17th was kind of like, I was like, that is it. That is the Masters defining moment. And then obviously the tee shot on 18 is like, it's a critical shot, and he hits the fairway, and you think, here we go.
Yeah.
3 shots from 120 yards. Rory McIlroy would do that 99 times out of 100. And yeah, to see him dump that ball in the bunker, you were like, oh my God, there is another twist.
On 13 as well, when he put that water in, and I mean, Trevor Immelman was just like, this is the most he's like, I've never seen a worse shots. Like, I mean, that was absolutely outrageous. I mean, I was sitting there saying like, you're in control. Just get it in the house. And you could, it was quite...
Just so confounding. That
but it was quite refreshing also to see someone like Rory still struggle with the nerves. And, I said it, we get a taste of nerves when we play like club champs and the rest of it. But we have no idea the amount of pressure and expectation that was on him, like trying to play those shots. And you could see that pressure and those nerves affecting the world's best, which just, I mean, is quite like a humanizing thing to sort of see and witness as well. That like these are humans that are playing the game, and they're affected by their emotions and by the sort of the weight of expectation and the moment that they're in, as much as, we feel that in club champs, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean... JDV, I actually was thinking about this morning, like I actually would love to, and if anyone knows of a really good one, I'd love to actually chat to like a sports psychologist or something about that final round, because, you talk about, we feel the nerves on club champs or whatever, but I'm not sure.
No, we don't feel those. I mean, I'm just trying to say you feel nerves when you play club champs. You're not feeling Masters final round nerves.
But so in the context of like sports in general around the world, I'm not sure if a single sports person has had more expectation or pressure on them than Rory has had and has built up over a period of like 10 years on him trying to A, win another major, B, win the Masters, and C, win the Masters to win the Grand Slam of golf, So, I mean, this was essentially, I think, his 11th time at trying to do that. And if you put that together with the fact that golf is such a individual solo pursuit, you're not out there with a team, it's not like, I mean, I was thinking about other pressure moments, like where I've been on the edge of my seat with sports and that. Obviously, the Rugby World Cup comes to mind as a Springbok fan. Gosh, like what the Springboks put us through 3 weekends in a row was kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
But like the Springboks have got a team, they can get together in a huddle, like they can have one person who's on a high. Rory is on his own out there essentially with his caddy, and to see, and I think the no laying up guys spoke about this on their show wrap, around how that was probably one of the most like mentally resilient rounds of golf that they've ever seen, purely because of the fact that the way the story normally goes is someone has a lead, and Rory's done this before, lots of other players have done this before. They have a lead, there's expectation on them, and they stumble. They have a big stumbling moment. It's normally like the Spieth moment at 13, and that's it. They just never recover. Rory stumbled about 4 times during that round.
He stumbled a lot, but he also played the best and the worst shots that like I've seen him hit. It's like he's played some of the most iconic shots in pressure moments, and played some of the worst shots in pressure moments.
I mean, probably 2 or 3 of some of the most iconic shots you'll ever see at like Augusta, and then probably 2 or 3 of some of like literally the worst. Like it was, and so for him to keep coming back the way he did, that was the confounding part for me, because after the first 2 holes, I was like, right, we've seen this before from Rory. He's stumbling here. He's feeling the pressure. He's just going to slowly fall out of the picture. How often do we see this in the majors? And it's going to be 2 other people. And by the 4th hole, he'd made his first comeback. He birdies 3 and 4. Suddenly, he's got a 2-shot lead over I think by the end of the 4th hole, he had a 3-shot lead over Bryson. It was outrageous.
But I think the other thing I just wanted to mention was that it was billed as a Bryson versus Rory showdown. And it seemed like that for a couple of holes. And then all of a sudden, Bryson wasn't in the picture anymore. I mean, I think Bryson had to go out and try and take it. I know that, again, there was comments about, Bryson being in the situation he was with a C+ game. And, Rory needs to maybe be a bit careful, because if Bryson has his A game, it's could be done and dusted. But then someone mentioned, but hang on, if Bryson doesn't manage to get his up and downs and play as well as he is with a C+ game, then he's absolutely going to crumble on Sunday, which is probably the right prediction. Was like he can't maintain that level of golf without having his best game.
No, that's exactly what happened. I mean,
and
his irons were nowhere.
And then to see the other names that were, I mean, Justin Rose, Oaks wrote him off. I mean, he went from 11.5% win odds to like 0.5% and played the round of his life on Sunday. I mean, he was one pretty poor putt on 17 away from winning the Masters. I mean, you could say the same with Rory on 18. I mean, there's obviously you can't go back and count all of the missed and made putts, but I mean, Justin Rose was legitimately right there to win the Masters. Ludwig Aberg was like all of a sudden in the picture. You know, Patrick Reed even had a little sniff there at the end. I thought it was unbelievable, you know, seeing the names that were up there. You know, I'd mentioned it before. Thankfully, Corey Connors fell out of the picture. You know, I think the names that were in contention genuinely were all, yes, I mean, what an epic finish.
Yeah, I think it's a good point with just on the Corey Connors thing. Like, just when you say his name out loud, he just doesn't go with those like top 4 guys, you know, who kind of came in at the end.
But even like Patrick Reed, I mean, like Patrick Reed is a personality, you know, love him or hate him, he's a villain. Corey Connors is just like a extra. And I mean, obviously, I'm stoked we got to see him at the Nedbank and the rest of it, but he's not in like that main narrative of, you know, the live guys, the main PGA Tour guys that were all up there in contention.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, no offense or nothing against Corey Connors, but you know, I think that would have been a tough storyline if Corey Connors went and played the round Justin Rose did. But yeah, that wasn't the case. I think just quickly, Terence, I wanted to give myself a victory lap for managing to get the third pick and still getting Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, so I mean, congratulations, JDV. We obviously, you know, we're not recording this with the other guys. We're doing a dual recording. I'll be recording with him a bit later. But yeah, I mean, well done, JDV. First major of the year. You know, you must be nice. Unlike Rory, you haven't been trying for ages to win your first run. You know, you've got that out the way. So
well, this is like the first live tournament. We don't actually know how prestigious this is. Yeah. It's got a.
Well, we did notice that the rest of your team was a net negative. So.
Again, I've got my issues with that because everyone's team was a net negative if you take away their top player.
No, 100%. But what I meant is you didn't get like a first and 2 top 5s, which would have put you way out of the reach.
It did look like it at one stage. I mean, at the beginning of the tournament, Hatton was very much top 5, sort of even properly in contention. Rom, I would say I got a bit lucky with him to get a backdoor top 20 there, got me 3 points. And yeah, look, I mean, the Saffers, I did also note none of our Saffers made any dents, any additions to the points. The only Saffer making the cut being Charles Schwartzel, and then certainly not making a top 20. But yeah, I think that was also a fun little side story to follow was how the major draft was going, what the points were going to be. So I really enjoyed that. It was sort of like having there was like 3 things to follow. I had my golf champs picks, I had my major draft picks, and I had my Betway picks, which my dad and Sean had done, which were atrocious as well.
Well, I sent you a message at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I said, hey, it looks like Justin Rose is going to steal your lunch out of your lunchbox here, because at one stage, obviously none of us had picked Justin Rose, but it was very entertaining watching, and there was a lot of movement on our little internal majors leaderboard. By the way, I reckon going forward for the next like 2 or 3 years, taking Charles as the low South African's got to be like an absolute cheat code of a bet.
Yeah,
I don't know why we didn't think about that.
Seems like he's always the low South African. Well, I mean, it's because he played there the most.
He may be the only South African there next year, let's be honest. JDV, just give me some more of your takeaways from this year's tournament.
So I'm sure Hoff will comment on it later, but the Friday broadcast, I think there was a lot of airtime given to Bernard Langer, Lara Tharbel, and Freddie Couples, and I think rightly so. I mean, it was Bernard Langer's last Masters. He was legitimately looking like he was going to make the cut. That's Bernard and Freddie Couples also looked like he was legitimately going to make the cuts. I mean, all three of those guys actually played pretty incredibly well. It's pretty jarring to watch, some of like Rory and Bryson go at like holes with like 9-iron, 8-iron, and the other guys are sitting there with like woods and hybrids, and they're not reaching the green. So that was awesome to see. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of, I'm sure, tee up off for that one, because I know he was unimpressed that he spent Friday watching Freddie Couples at the Masters. The amateur pissing in Rays Creek was one of the underrated storylines. That was unbelievable, and then him saying he would do it again, and it just reminded me of something that you would do at varsity and not realize like what you've done and be like, no man, this is what are you talking about?
So I missed this like completely. I heard the NLU guys talking about it on Sunday, but like, so where exactly did he piss in the creek? Like, was it on the left of 13?
I think so, yeah. So they were.
It wasn't on 12, like in front of.
No. But it was. I mean, again, there's not many spectators there, so I think there was a rules. There was a guys waiting for a ruling, so he sort of just snuck off into the bushes and like had a pee in Rays Creek there. And I mean, we play golf all the time, and you do sort of sneak off into the bush and go and have a wee where you need to. But again, it's like, maybe just not understanding like the gravity of what you're doing, like this high regard that everyone holds Augusta in. And I mean, they're right. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you could go just upstream and take a piss in that creek and like no one's going to blink an eye. But I suppose it's this aura that Augusta has, as hallowed ground, to then go take a pee in the river is pretty flipping classic.
Was there a photo of it, or was there people on the ground?
No, people on the ground had sort of reported it, and
but I mean, there's no way he's the first to take a pee in Rays Creek.
Well, maybe in like tournaments, like during the Masters. I mean, I'm sure a bunch of members that go there. And what do you reckon, like spectators and stuff just going?
No, I think other players have probably left of 13 I'd be very surprised if they hadn't. But
I did just want to say it reminded
me
me of something that like a student would do. Like if you're like a student at university, where you're like, no man, of course I'm just gonna go pee in that creek. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you forget where you are, and then you turn around and there's like a whole grandstand of people there. So.
You say, well, what's the issue?
Yeah.
And then I think just quickly, I've always had an issue, and I've raised it every year, about the bird sounds being piped into the broadcast. And yeah, we had a little deep dive into those birds, and I mean, there's some serious conspiracy theories about the birds, but I mean, for me, it's so
unsubstantiated theories,
but it's so audible on the broadcast that like even when Rory had sunk the putts and was like walking through the crowds and everyone shouting Rory, Rory, you can still hear like preep, 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 preep. I'm like, there's no flipping chance you can hear any bird noises at that stage. Like, unless there's a bird sitting in the booth like next to the Oaks microphone, like you're not hearing that bird noise. So for me, and I mean, obviously it goes all 4 days, and I'd made the point that in live golf, when you hear that music, at least when they cut to different parts in the course, the music changes. It doesn't cut with the edit, and you can see. Does that make sense? Like the sound isn't perfectly aligned, like regardless of which shot they cut to. So I mean, obviously for me, I'm sitting there saying this is so annoying that they're piping in these like fake bird noises, and then you found a bunch of articles basically talking about how they might be real birds, but there's like some very deliberate language used about the fact that, they're not piped in by the broadcast, but they're not sort of saying that they aren't piped in. And then there was that story about the guy who legitimately went to try and search for speakers. And then he said he heard a particularly tweety area and thought he had found a speaker in one of the bush. So he poked his head into the bush and found a bird.
There was an actual bird. with the little microphone on its beak.
Yeah, like one of those pin microphones that like onto its wings. So anyway, that tickled me quite a lot. So I did just want to shout out the bird pipe noises, because when Oaks were shouting, it's probably the loudest that place can get, and yet you can still hear these bird noises.
Look, I feel like I'm just conditioned to it now watching the Masters. It doesn't. I don't know if I'd notice if it wasn't there, and it doesn't really bug me if it is there. But it is quite sick that Oaks have walked around like shaking trees,
looking for birds.
And then some Oaks are like, I've never seen a bird at the Masters in my whole life, and look, when there's like 50,000 people on like a property, like birds are not exactly just like cruising around.
Yeah.
I did like the one guy's note that he also had never seen a bird, and then the one day he looked up and a bird shat on his arm, and he was like, "Okay, there are birds here." Yeah, what else have we got?
Those were my 3 points. Obviously, I mean, there were Patrick Reed. I must say the holdout that he had and that reaction was pretty priceless. That did it go in situation. Justin Rose.
Did you hear the background story behind the fans at the green on that?
No.
So this is one of the very unique things about Augusta, and I think I really I am going to go there and experience it someday. Like, it's going to happen. But there's no cell phones on the ground, obviously. So, and a lot of guys were talking about this now in the final round about how it was like, how do you get information? So there's only 2 ways you can get there's 3 ways you can get information on the golf course about what's happening on the golf course. Basically from other people. So they were saying how amazing that is because everyone talks to each other, like complete strangers. You're like sharing information all the time. The other way is from the scoreboards. Yeah. And the third way is they've got those phones. So like I was hearing stories of guys going to the phone boxes and phoning their like family who were on holiday in like Hawaii to try and find out information about a golfer who was like 200 meters away from them. It was so sick. No, but apparently Patrick Reed was what hit that approach, but as he was hitting that approach, they were changing the leaderboard on the 17th hole. So what happens is they pull back the numbers. Yeah. The numbers are in like 3. So what they do is as soon as they pull back the numbers, apparently the whole crowd just looks up. And so nobody actually saw his ball go in the hole. So the whole crowd was actually watching the leaderboard, not the green. And he just one-hopped it in.
Yeah. Oh, that's classic.
So it was quite a sick little note on that. Yeah.
And then just finally before I go, I mean, I just wanted to shout out like the absolute class that is Justin Rose, and how he conducted himself after missing the putts, being in that playoff. Like again, I mean, I know he's a bit of a ball of cheese and like a proper, he seems quite pompous, but like I think that's part of his aura, and he is super classy. I mean, the way he handled that, and I do just wanted to shout out like how classy that loss was. You also want to be able to lose graciously, and I think Rosie.
Unbelievable. I must say, I've always been a fan of Justin Rose. Like, has he been my favorite or in my top 3 or 4 golf players? No. But is he someone that's like irritated me the way like other people talk about him? Absolutely not. Like I love what he brings to the table.
Was he born in South Africa?
Yeah, he was born in Johannesburg. Yeah. The memories you have of him at the Ryder Cup, and like he's a momentum player, and so seeing him go on a run like that, 10 birdies in the final round of a Masters. I mean, he birdied every single hole on Amen Corner. Yeah, he birdied 11. Like no one birdies 11.
But he did look like he got distracted by Oaks a lot. I don't know if you saw, but sort of.
Oh yeah, no, he was keeping guys in order.
I mean, he backed off a lot of putts. Yeah. I remember I was like, but
he's always been a bit of a fidgety player. And guys say, they talk about him being pompous, but I think that's just because he's English and that he's like a proud, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. If he was American and he was like fist pumping and high fiving, guys would be like, oh, he's awesome, Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really buy that pompous take on him. Like I've always digged him, and I heard guys having a debate about who's had like a better career, Justin Rose or Adam Scott. Like, I don't think it's even close. And I think the results point that out. But like, Adam Scott, beautiful golf swing, yada yada. But in terms of like, if you want to watch someone when they're getting on like a run and like, I mean, pointing to the crowd, like when he made that birdie putt on 18, I mean, and the crowd were loving him.
But I was going to say, for someone like Justin Rose, the celebrations are like low-key pretty epic. Like, if you think about some of the celebrations he's had in Ryder Cups, and I mean, even
walking
the
putts in.
100%.
No,
bit of a showman.
Showman is exactly the right word. And look, it was, what? And in some ways, like, it was great that he was the one who honestly, like, we all thought it was going to be a Rory Bryson show the whole day. By like this, guys will say the 11th hole. I'll tell you by like the 8th or 9th hole, Bryson was out of it.
Bryson was out of it.
And Rose became the back nine protagonist. And like, that is what made the round, you know, and pushed Rory. I mean, pushed him to a playoff, you know. And shout out both of them. I mean, those tee shots that both of them hit after, like, I know Rose was on the driving range and that, but Rory, after what he went through, both his tee shots on 18.
How terrifying is that tee shot? I mean, when they show that, I look at it as there's no way in hell I'm not hitting one of those trees. And if I am missing those trees, I'm missing those trees like left of the left trees or right of the right trees. I'm not hitting that.
Unbelievable.
That gap.
Like Rory didn't drive it great on Sunday, and to step on 18 in regulation, he was stood there for like 10 minutes waiting to hit that tee shot.
Yeah, because Aberg was just lighting money on fire on the green there.
Who had Aberg again?
Off.
Off.
Yeah, that was a tough scene. Aberg was
he was playing ping pong.
That was tough.
Yeah, and to wait for 10 minutes, pipe that drive in regulation, and then in the playoff for both of them to do that, and for Rose to basically force Rory to make a birdie, it was epic. JDV.
Like a T, well, keep the guys honest later, and tell them I look forward to getting the chip lead going into the final major.
Okay, so joined now by our other two guys, Taki and Hoff. Gentlemen, nice to have you in the podcast booth. JDV's just walks out, and joined by you guys. We call you guys the Sleepy Two because you guys decided to do some self-preservation on Sunday night. I don't know if it was emotional self-preservation if you're Rory fans, or if it was physical because you were really tired from Saturday night. But JDV and I have done a little bit of we've let some emotion out around what we experienced during that round. But nice to see you guys. Taki, what are your like kind of first sort of overriding thoughts around Masters 25?
So I did the late stint on Saturday. I watched the whole round on Saturday. I felt like I had a bit of an excuse because I felt like I was a golf fan enough because I watched on the Saturday, didn't watch on the Sunday. But I saw Rory's double on the first, and that sort of sent me to bed because I was like, oh, this could be this could break a lot of hearts. For me, the one big takeaway for me, and retrospectively, I felt a little bit bad. But then looking back on it, I don't really feel that bad. But genuinely dislike Bryson-sized. Hey? Like, watching him be all matey with the fans and everything like that. I just feel like he's obviously reinvented himself. He's now a fan favorite clearly, but geez, I don't know what it is about him. And his comments about Rory afterwards not talking to him during the round, and like I just felt like I was like, come on, man. Pick a different struggle here. Look, Rory doesn't have to speak to you. You don't have to feel like the guy has to be your best mate when you're trying to win the major for the first time. That just left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. But yeah, my dislike for Bryson definitely shone through.
Hoff, what do you have to say for yourself? What do you have to say for yourself? Not watching one of the finest rounds of a major, probably in recent memory.
Look, I mean, I took a very similar route to Taki. Did the late stint on Saturday. I can't say I went all the way through the third round, but I got pretty far into the third round. And then I had a decision on my hands on Sunday. You know, I needed to be all in or all out. And basically my initial plan was sort of half and half, where I was like, okay, I want to just see Rory tee off. But I knew if I tasted that juice, I needed the whole glass, you know. So I decided to go all out, and as one does, and I do the same thing with Liverpool games, where I'm like, nah, it's too late. I'm definitely not going to watch this, and then I sit on my phone and watch the like blow by blow commentary. So it was a similar kind of thing with the Masters. I didn't watch, but there I am lying in bed watching like every shot on the Masters app for the first two holes, and yeah, I was pretty deflated when I saw Rory give those two shots back and Bryson make a shot and take the lead. And I thought, okay, you know, let's call it. And happened to wake up at 2 a.m. and had a squiz over at my phone and thought, do I look now and be disappointed or happy, depending? or do I leave it again? And again, I decided to leave it, and thank goodness I did, because it was probably still during the playoff. But yeah, I woke up in the morning, looked at my phone, and I was like, holy shit, Justin Rose, where did that come from? And yeah, I mean, obviously been a little bit harsh on Rory at times during this podcast for the way he's sort of dealt with the whole live thing, but was 100% behind him. And yeah, I think the takeaway for me was like how seismic it's been, like how widely like celebrated it's been. It's just across the planet by pretty much everyone, you know, from NFL guys to actors to golfers, and most of all, like the crowd there. It was so cool to see like a Masters crowd over an obviously overwhelmingly American crowd, just like super behind Rory. And I must say, I have, as much as I would have definitely loved to see it live, I'm certainly not shying away from that. I have absolutely loved picking through his round and, you know, watched the full ceremony on the green and in the cabin. And yeah, it was, I think we'll remember this one for a long, long time, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting you talk about the crowd, and there were definitely at the start of that round, there were definitely very much like Bryson fans and Rory fans. You know, Taki, you talk about, you know, your dislike for Bryson and that, and I mean, I don't know if you obviously watched the first hole, Taki, but the walk up to the first tee, I mean, Bryson was just full blown playing the showman vibe from the driving range, you know, where he was doing his full like showmanship on the driving range, and then walking up to that first tee, you know, just like double high-fiving everyone down the road, just big smiles, you know, his big like YouTube. I'm surprised he didn't like get a YouTube sign out, ask people to like and subscribe. But he totally knew what he was doing. Like he was totally playing the crowd, walking up to that first tee. And so there was quite a bit of gamesmanship like early on, you know, even before they teed off. And then, yeah, I mean, Rory was just stone-faced. I mean, he shook Bryson's hand, obviously on the tee box, and he said like, let's have a good day. And then that was the last word, apparently, he said to him the whole round, which is pretty sick as well. That's also like, that's gamesmanship as well, you know?
Sorry, I read a...
Don't you just think he's like a young... Yeah, go ahead.
No, carry on off.
No, I was going to say, don't you think he's just a young version, like a modern day young version of what Phil Mickelson was? Like, just like cringe fest, you know, he's fist pumping instead of thumbs up. You know, like that video of Phil from whenever it was talking about hitting bombs while, you know, driving up Magnolia Lane. Like, he's just a YouTube version of Phil, old Bryson. I must say, like, it's entertaining. I think he's more entertaining than what Phil was. But, yeah, I share your reservations at the very least, Taki.
No, I think it's like, it's harmless. You said it. It's cringe. Like, I find like he's just a cringy individual. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But like, I was just saying that Rory's psychologist was interviewed. Like, everyone that knows him is now being interviewed. And the psychologist was saying that like their whole goal in the week was to not engage with anyone or worry about what anyone else was doing. Like, it just puts a massive, what a huge bucket of water onto any fire that anyone's going to start, that Rory was being a prick or something like that. It was just the way he was going about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, evidently, you know, I probably share your sentiments about Bryson. I think I've come round on him more than, I wouldn't say I've come round on him, but I don't maybe hate him as much as I used to. He's like harmless, and I think he's good for the game. Like, I would much rather have Bryson involved at the top of a leaderboard on a major, because it's entertaining, like regardless of what's going to happen. You know, the way he plays the game. I mean, that end of that third round, I mean, you guys can talk to it. I didn't actually watch the end of that third round, but, you know, evidently Bryson was really fighting his game most of the week, but he still managed to somehow get the ball in the hole and get into that final pairing. So yeah, you got to give him credit for that. And evidently he has quite a big following with like the younger generation. From what I understand at the ground, there was quite a bit of like the younger sort of crowd who were like, you know, who were roaring on Bryson as opposed to Rory. But what an unbelievable kind of like round of golf to watch. I mean, that final round. I mean, I don't know how I don't know how either of you guys kind of went to sleep after seeing, because you obviously both knew that he'd basically
Doubled.
lost his lead by the end of the second hole, and yet that was like not even, that was like just a little appetizer for like how the rest of the round was going to go. I said to JDV earlier, like, it's the most like bipolar sporting day or event that I've ever watched in my entire life, because every time something happened which you thought was the start of like a trend, and you think normally in that scenario the leader's just going to slowly fade away and some new people are going to rise up, that wouldn't happen. I mean, Rory then turns it around, birdies 3 and 4, and suddenly they're standing on the tee. Rory's lost his lead. Now they're standing on the 5th tee. Rory's up by 3. It was, it was just, and it was just like that the whole day. Yeah. And then you had these, Bryson slowly just started fading away, and Rory birdies 9 and 10, and then Bryson doubles 11, and that's basically it. And then almost at that moment, Justin Rose just starts like making his way up the leaderboard. He made 10 birdies, Rose did, on Sunday. I mean, just unbelievable. He birdied every single hole on Amen Corner. I mean, I don't know if you saw the highlights, but he darn right should have eagled the 13th. I mean, his eagle putt on 13, I don't know how it didn't go in. I mean, it basically kissed the edge of the hole. Bogeyed 14, and then came back, birdied 15, birdied 16, made a bit of a bad bogey on 17, and then sank that absolute bomb on 18. I mean, it was unbelievable. And all the while, you think Rory's kind of got things in check. He's gotten rid of Bryson. He gets through Amen Corner. I was messaging someone saying, it's not over until you get through 11 and 12. Those are often the holes that like take prisoners. And I mean, look, he bogeyed 11, but that's not unusual. He made a kind of a smart bogey there. And then he played 12 like textbook, absolute textbook, middle of the green, 2 putts. And you think, it's done. Most of the field's birdieing 11, hits it to this great layup position, and then hits like honestly the worst golf shot I think I've ever seen in like a major tournament. It was so confounding to see someone of like his skill level miss a green that he was like, I don't know, 70 yards from, and a green that's about what looks to be about 25 meters wide. And I don't even think he hit the green. He literally hit the first cut and bounced into that.
Yeah. I've watched it so many times. I've watched that chip so many times, and he's got so much room on the left of that flag. Like, it is mind blowing how he has just gone and hit that where he's hit it. Like, it seems like if he even tried to hit it there again, he'd never be able to. It was just bizarre. Like, he's hit it past the flag and right, and it's pitched on the fringe and then bounced straight into the creek. It was just diabolical.
And his reaction afterwards reminded me a lot of that reaction that he had in 2011, where he like bent over his golf club, and you think, surely, like when I watch those highlights back, obviously knowing the result, you're like, how did the Oak turn it around? And I know a lot of people have spoken about his mentality and how strong his mentality was during that day. And a lot of people were pretty confused by some of the other golfers saying that he had such mentality. But it's intense to, at that level, under that pressure, to hit, the best and worst shots of a guy of that level is crazy. The fact that he still turned it around is it's mind-blowing. And what was it, 15, Terence, where he sort of like hooked it around the trees? I mean, that's insane. Like, absolutely insane. I mean, if his nerves were already jingling, I mean, maybe it was like, oh, maybe I've lost this, so I'm just going to have a crack, or, I don't know. But I mean, it's like one of the best shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I think like one of my big takeaways from the round, and I kind of noticed this even on the front nine, is that when you watch Rory play in other final rounds of majors, when he's like been in pretty close contention, and I would probably say I would take the Pinehurst round last year out of this, because he actually played really well in that round. He just kind of bottled it right at the end, but he played really good golf in that round. But with this round, he seemed to really be, for the most part, going for his shots, like sticking with the strength of his game, which is essentially to hit these like shots that basically most other guys can't hit. So these high towering drives and irons. And I mean, he did that the whole day. So like he did that on the fourth hole, like the par 3. Like almost no one birdied the fourth hole on Sunday. He stuck it in there, hit a unbelievable iron shot there. He did it on the 7th. He was on the left rough, and he hit like a crazy shot out of the rough through like a tiny window in the trees that his caddy was trying to talk him out of it, and he was like, no, it's cool, I got it. And I don't know if you saw that shot, but he almost holed it. He did it on 9, he did it on 10, and then Hoff, he's had the tragedy of the 13th, and the bogey he made on 14. Look, 14's not an easy hole, but he still lost 3 shots in 2 holes. And then it was almost like he was in that position where he's like kind of freed up in some ways, and it was like, okay, well, like basically he'd hit almost exactly the same shot the day before, and it was like, all right, it was a harder shot because he had to hook it around that tree a bit more. And it was kind of like, okay, cool. Well, this is my strength. And so I was really impressed with. I think that's what impressed me the most about him is that, it's always bugged me a bit about McIlroy with, like, if you think about the old course round when he started with the lead, it felt like he kind of nudged it around the old course. He tried to play percentage golf in that, and that's just not his game. His game is to separate himself by hitting shots that like other guys can't hit. He just kept going back to that during the round, and obviously deviated. A lot of people say he deviated from that on 13, but most guys were going for 13 green and 2, and Rory had obviously decided, that he was going to hit 3 wood and then lay up. So you could argue that he deviated there, and maybe that he paid the price, but went back to it. 15, 16, he hit a great iron shot. And then that shot he hit on 17, which at that stage, just to give you an idea, at that stage when we were watching, Justin Rose had just birdied 16. He bogeyed 17, but Rose had just sunk that birdie putt on the 18th green before McIlroy hit the shot into 17. So that stage, you're thinking, shit, Rose has got a 1-shot lead here, and Rory's got to get through like 17 and 18, and those are 2 really tough holes at Augusta. And then to hit that ball, they were level, so Rory had to par out to basically, he had to par out to make a playoff with Rose. And you're thinking, yes, it's difficult to par 17 and 18, and then to stick that shot in there on 17. Again, a hole that a lot of guys were bogeying, and and then once again you think, okay, he's got it now. Like we've been through like 4 different like roller coasters here. He's been up, he's been down, he's got up again, but he's going to do it now. Like, and obviously the tee shot on 18 is like the most retardedly like intimidating tee shot I think there is in golf. If you've got like a 1-shot lead, and he hits an unbelievable drive there. Also considering, and you wouldn't have really noticed this if you hadn't watched the replays, but they had to wait on that tee box for like 10 minutes before they teed off, Rory and Bryson, because of your guy, Ladies was making like vomiting all over himself on the 18th green with his playing ping pong between the bunkers. So they stood on that tee box for like 10 minutes, which that couldn't have been easy either. And then just steps up, and he didn't drive the golf ball well, like on Sunday in general, but steps up and just like hits an unbelievable drive down there. Now you're thinking, okay, well, he's done the hard part, like basically time to start, like, get the champagne glasses out. He's got 120 yards, little gap wedge, middle of the green, 2 putts, he does, and then, the story's not over. Like, dumps it in the bunker, and like, I literally put my head in my couch, and I was like, screaming, because I was like, firstly, I was like, God, this means I won't have to stay up for like another hour to watch the playoff. And like, how on earth does he do that? Like he hits these amazing, towering shots that almost no one else can hit. And then these confounding mistakes, which is obviously was pressure driven. It was just such an emotional roller coaster watching that. And then I can't imagine what it must have been like coming off, like having basically thinking, well, I've bottled it now completely, and now you've got to go through the whole process,
Reset.
back to the tee box, reset, and
again.
then to come back and to again after having all that time period off, and also credit to Justin Rose. I mean, both of them hit incredible tee shots there. Like, I think that's got to be the most severe pressure. I think when Justin Rose played Sergio in the playoff, I think Rose hit it like way right into the trees, as far as I remember. Like, he kind of gave the hole away almost from the tee box. But yeah, didn't do that this time, like both. And then Rose hit a really good shot into that green. So and then Rory just stepped up and just, killed it, just put it to 3 feet. And that was it.
To birdie that hole is, it's not easy. And that shot in the playoff looked sensational. I mean, as you say, Rose's not too bad. I mean, it was straight over the flag. Rose's putt actually reminded me a lot of the putt that Sergio ended up sinking in that 2017 playoff to win. So that must have hurt a little bit. But look, I'm sure we'll get on to Justin Rose and maybe just finish off on Rory. But I mean, when I saw him dump into the first bunker on his first tee shot, because I mean, I don't know if you saw him tee off in the third round. I'm sure you did, Tucky. I mean, the drive he hits on that first hole was insane. He cleared the bunkers by an absolute mile. I mean, going a step back now, I mean, you've obviously covered the final round there pretty nicely, T. I mean, that start to the third round was insane. I mean, he had, 5 threes, 6 threes to start? I mean, that's one of the best sort of, I mean, I obviously didn't watch the fourth round live, but that stint of 5 or 6 holes was absolutely mind-blowing. I don't know if he would have done that had he been the solo leader at the time. I think the fact that he had those double bogeys in the first round and he was sort of fighting back and all of that maybe helped free him up. But that was incredible. And so, my first thoughts when he dumped it into the first bunker and then put it in the bunker on the second as well, I was like, it's tickets, his tickets. And I said it to JDV, we were discussing it the other day. I was like, if he didn't sink that putt to win the playoff, like I don't know where he would have gone from here. To have a collapse in 2011 and then collapse again. I don't know if he would have recovered from that. But I'm super stoked that he won. It was unfortunate that it was Justin Rose that had to get the end of it, but. Yeah, I mean, how many threes is that? 1, 2, 3, 4,
it was
5.
6.
6 threes in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, that is birdie, eagle, birdie, par, birdie, par. I mean, insane. Absolutely insane. And when
So
I saw
there was
that, I
a
was like, he's
stats.
gonna win. And then when I saw his first tee shot in the fourth round, I was like, he ain't going to win.
He's going to lose. So there was, I think the start of that third round is kind of an underrated part of like the whole story. I mean, because the final round was so crazy, but what a day. And like, I mean, also remembering that like he shot like level par in the first round. So like his second round was like incredible as well. But then to come out after you've like played your way back into the tournament and to start with 6 threes is like never been done in the history of the Masters, apparently. Just a quick side story on that, JDV. We just come off not just, but as we like finished our golf on Saturday evening, literally like when I say evening, like almost dark, like under the full moon at Gari, he had just teed off, and when we walked in, he made that chip on the second hole, I think it was. Chipped in for that eagle.
Yeah.
And we had this like crazy atmosphere in the pub there at Gari with like a properly full bar of guys, and watching those first 6 holes with like all of those people in there was pretty special. Guys were getting excited.
I was getting fired up on Saturday. That's for sure. I was getting seriously fired up. until that bogey on 8 really sort of put a dampener on my evening, because I was like, we're on here for like course record stuff, but obviously it's pretty unsustainable to to go like that and go the way he was going. But like, it was just, when someone just looks like so dialed, like everything that he was doing was just on the money. As like I felt watching back, like, and maybe also sort of through the week, but when he hit his 3-wood off the tee, I felt like he was a bit vulnerable. When he was ripping it, when he was ripping his driver, he looked as comfortable as ever. But I felt like his 3-wood let him down. But I might be talking completely out of turn. But like when I was watching it just seemed like a little bit squirrely but the driver was on song.
Yeah, even in the final round, he hit his 3-wood. I'm trying to remember the holes. Look, the final round, his driver wasn't as good as the rest of the rounds, but he did have a couple of wayward 3-woods as well. So, I think Trevor Immelman, was it Trevor Immelman? One of the commentators said, like, they were like, look, doesn't seem like he's hitting either well. Like, he should just use his driver, because that's his like superpower, so on 18, he was like, obviously, I don't think it was even a question that was the club he was going to hit. Yeah, guys, I think like I said quite a bit to JDV and to you guys now, but like I just I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening watched the round as well, but it was really, I just don't know if we're going to see emotion like that again. And Hoff, to your point earlier around the crowd, like it was incredible to see how the crowd like I think like in a lot of ways like carried Rory. Like even when he made his like the double bogey on 13, like straight away the crowd started like almost like chanting his name, and they're like, and you just had that energy like the whole time, they were really trying to like pick him up and like keep him in it. And then at the end there, it was like, it's almost like if you're a pretty hardened golf fan and you've been following for like a reasonable amount of time, I think like a lot of people would, whether you really liked Rory or you didn't like him, you couldn't help but like become invested in like part of his like the story of like, is he ever going to be able to do this? Like, A, is he ever going to be able to win another major? Like, and B, is he ever going to win at Augusta, where obviously he's had this like pressure of winning the career Grand Slam for like 11 years now. And every time you go back to that place, obviously that story just keeps continuing, and it's just been part of the conversation for so long, that whether he's your favorite player or whether a lot of people don't like him, you can't help but be interested and become involved in that story. And I think to see him win, and not just like obviously the emotion that came out of him, but like you hear the stories and you see pictures of like the emotion, like the emotion that came out of like just general like fans at the there and at home and whatever, is like, I think it's this true like full circle, almost like a 15-year like sporting moment that's like almost has come to a close, and I don't know how often we'll experience something like that like in our lifetime again, where you've got this like the start of a story, and it's obviously not the end of the story of Rory, but it's definitely the end of like an act of Rory, and probably the longest act, this kind of middle period almost, I would call it, where you're sort of like, well, like, don't know if there's another sport or another, I don't know, I just can't see another sporting story that can be so dramatic and go on for so long and come to like I suppose like a happy conclusion. Really, really one for the ages and really cool.
What I was also thinking is that like Rory came to the fore of the golfing world in the last few years, obviously with everything that's gone on behind the scenes. So he is, after Tiger, the most recognizable person in the game. For him to go through what he went through, and then like through this phase now where he's almost got that like, he's got a bit of a like fuck you attitude towards almost everything about the game and everyone. It seems like he's almost got to that stage where like he's almost disillusioned by the whole thing. So for him to have gone through the caring too much to the almost like feels like not caring as much and being a bad boy in the eyes of so many as well, but then also now getting to a point where everyone has gone, holy shit, like he's done it. Like that's Rory McIlroy is one of the greatest of all time because he's now completed the career Grand Slam. But also, as you mentioned, like with that 15-year wait, you think how much pressure that poor oak has been under. And he's 35 years old. He's still got a lot of professional golf in him. But to have to sit with that burden of are you going to do it? Are you going to get the job done? Are you good enough to get the job done? Do you buckle under pressure all the time? Coming off the US Open last year into this now with Scotty coming back from injury, Xander coming back from injury, it was like the prime opportunity for him to get it done. And if he didn't get it done, as Hoff mentioned, was that it? Were we just going to write him off? And what was he going to do? And how was he going to react? And I guess we don't have to worry about that anymore. But like to be able to think about the potential scenarios that could have come out of him not winning, but then also to look at like the pure elation and the pure relief almost of him winning. I think it offered up so much drama. It's like, yeah, it's second to none in terms of golf that I've sort of ever been a part of or ever seen, because like I've been watching. It's been on Sky News for 2 days. They've gone back to Hollywood and Northern Ireland. They've shown so much about it. And like, to be fair, it's a golf tournament. You know, like the winner of the Masters, even if it was like Justin Rose, or I guess it'd probably be the same thing on Sky News. But it's Rory McIlroy. There's so much more to him than just winning golf tournaments. I feel. I think that his role in the game as a whole is so important. And it was the ultimate win at the end of the day, I feel.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a sporting event. It's gone beyond golf. It's one of those that will be on the sort of global list of, you know, events that have happened across any kind of sport, you know. And I think the fact that he's been so invested in this and so vulnerable to everyone, you know, and the double bogeys and, you know, the mind-blowingly good shots followed by mind-blowingly bad shots. You know, I think it's just endeared like him to everyone else, you know, and it sucked the crowd. You could feel 100% that the crowd were invested in it. Like you say, Terence, they were following every moment, even though they were watching a non-American. And, you know, that whole, like, everyone was like suffering with him and then, you know, celebrating with them and then suffering and then celebrating. And it was this roller coaster. And I think it reverberated like around the world. I mean, it's from a golfing perspective, the only thing that I can really liken it to is maybe the 2012 Ryder Cup at Medina, where it was just like, holy crap, what the hell is happening? You know, what are we watching here? And it unfolds in front of your eyes. So yeah, I think it's you know, will he kick on from here? Possibly. I mean, he should be able to play pretty pressure free from this moment on, which is a flippin' scary thought for everyone else around him. I mean, the first thing I thought of was, you know, this is going to be an unreal Ryder Cup this year. You know, if you've got a Rory McIlroy that's on fire and confident, yeah, that could make for very, very interesting viewing for an American Ryder Cup, or a Ryder Cup in America rather. So yeah, it was an unbelievable event. I'm very, very jealous that I didn't see it live, Teabag. But yeah, it was incredible, and maybe we can speak about some of the other contenders as well. I mean, I was shocked when I saw Rose had made that fight back, and that it was Justin Rose, you know, that had been in the playoff. I mean, this poor oak has such a good record at the Masters. The last time there was a playoff, he was flipping in it, and he lost it. And the last time there was a playoff, you felt 2017. And since then, I think a lot of people have gone off Sergio Garcia. But at that stage, Rose had won a major. Sergio hadn't. Again, he was like okay, well, we really like you, Justin Rose, but we're going to probably go for Sergio here because we want to see him win a major. In hindsight, that was probably a bad decision. But, you know, you've got to feel sorry for the oak. I mean, he played probably the round of his life and didn't win, and no one wanted him to win. And he's a pretty likable guy. I know the no laying up guys don't like him, but you know, he's a pretty likable guy. He's had an amazing career, and no one wanted him to win. That's kind of like, you know, that only would have happened against Rory. You know, I mean, he was he was sensational as well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like I feel like poor guy, and couldn't have been more humble like after the round and
Yeah.
everything like that. Just a man that you could see he knew that no one was rooting for him. He knew that the tournament was about Rory winning. He shot 6 under in the final round, like tied for the round of the day. It's mind blowing to think that you can shoot 6 under par in the final round where the guy ends up shooting one over. So you go shoot the round of your life and you still have to be in the playoff and you still have to try and beat this guy. And then he goes and makes birdie in the first playoff hole after bogeying the 18th hole. Just complete turnaround. And now you have to sit there again with the second place.
I mean, he still missed, like Terence mentioned, like a lip out. I mean, he had a few really close calls in the third round as well when he kind of went backwards. You know, on another day, those go in. He's not as far back. He wins the Masters by 2, you know. So, yeah, I really feel for him. I mean, the fact that the Oak could end up with, at the end of his career, with 1 major is pretty scary, considering how well he played in some of these majors, especially the Masters.
He's 40. I see he's 44. So, like, to be competing at this level at 44, I think there's plenty more opportunities for him. But then, I guess, as I mentioned a bit earlier, you just think of the guys that are going to be back for the rest of the year. Scotty Scheffler was 8 under for the tournament, and no one actually spoke about him at all. And he finished 4th. You know, like the defending champion. It's mind blowing how he can just go about his business. No one really cares, and he's always there or thereabouts. It's insane to think that a guy can do that, especially at Augusta in a major.
Yeah, I think like on Rose, like, you know, I don't think we would have got the drama of that round without Rose coming and being this like second protagonist, you know, and the fact that it was him and he, like, Rose is such a momentum player, and like I was listening to his final, like the interview after the round, and he said that from like the 11th hole he just like got into this like zen mode when he felt like he just literally wasn't going to miss, and he said it's like he described it as being like a bogey away from being his like greatest round ever. He said, you know, take a bogey off his card, and he said it would be pretty close to like the greatest, like he felt like he's ever played. You know, I was having a look. Yeah, he's obviously lost twice in the playoff, but he also finished second in 2015 at the Masters. So he's had 3 seconds now. Look, he finished quite a way behind Jordan Spieth that year, but you know. Yeah, he could be like the Ernie Els of this sort of decade. You know, Ernie had a couple of seconds at the Masters as well, and could just never get it done. But and Tucky, again, like I wanted to ask you, like, you know, I was talking about how I just don't know if we will ever see like a sporting moment like this, and of course, possibly we will, but. Like, isn't this why golf is just such an amazing like sport, in that you're dealing with the longevity of the players that play it is just like unbelievable compared to any other sports. I mean, Justin Rose played his first Masters in 2003. 22 years later, he is losing in a playoff. I mean, 22 years. It's just a remarkable sport that the players who play it can be competitive for so long if they're talented enough.
It's insane. Like, yeah, you watch, and I guess Phil last year was also a prime example as well of just how these guys just keep on going, no matter what happens, no matter how far guys are hitting the golf ball. Like, the guys can hit it further and further and further, but you will still have those guys that will compete. Like Fred Couples, every year he's making the cut. Like, just hitting it however far he hits it and just knocking it around, but getting himself in the right places, making the putts, making pars. It's, as you mentioned, I guess it speaks for itself just how incredible it is as a professional sport to watch, just such like the juxtaposition of some of these guys in terms of how far and how short they hit it. And I guess that it means that it's a game for everyone. Like Zach Johnson doesn't it, and he was sort of in the mix again. He's won it.
I suppose that also talks to like why Augusta is such a great place as well, right? That it's held up against like technology. I mean, if you look at the guys in that top 10, I mean Patrick Reed doesn't hit the golf ball a long way. He just always Patrick Reed is a is a proper golfer. His short game and his irons and that are something special. He's just, I think the tech, like I reckon if Patrick Reed played in like the 80s or the 90s, like legitimately, I think you're talking about a guy who would have won like 3 or 4 majors. Like he's just like a ball striker and a short game guy, you know, but with technology and yeah, so I think it also just talks to not only the game of golf, but I guess some of the venues that they play at, and I suppose most of the major venues hopefully bring out this where it's really it's still identifying the absolutely best golfers as opposed to like, you know, guys who can hit the balls, the driver far. Okay, guys, were there any other players you guys wanted to touch on? I've got a couple of takes on sort of non-player related things from the tournaments, but are there any? Did you want to give anyone a shout out?
You mentioned him earlier, I think, is Odd Ladders. I think he's shown again that he's got what it takes. He played a bit of ping pong on that last hole. You know, what a likable guy, what a likable player. Plays fast, believably fast. You know, you're not even set for him to pull the club back, and he's already hit the shot. You know, and seems to perform at Augusta. I mean, he wasn't in the greatest form coming in, and just got it done. And you know, when we chatted yesterday at Teabag, you know, you even mentioned it. You're like, look, it doesn't really look like it from the leaderboard, but he was right there. You know, he was right there. He was in the mix and shat the bed a little bit at the end. But yes,
I mean,
like,
standing.
What a player. I mean,
when Rory was standing on the 15th tee, before Rory teed off, it was a 3-way tie between Rory, Rose, and Ladders. Like it was a 3-way tie. And yeah, sure, Rory still had to play 15. I mean. It was like legitimately that close, and Ladders he bogeyed the 17th, and then he tripled the 18 to kind of like bow out. But you know, he plays 17 and 18 1 under. He's in the playoff, you know, so yeah, it's really cool to see him performing, and like what a likable guy, you know, just seems to be at ease. He plays so fast, like I mean, so fast the cameras could barely like keep up with him. It's just such a pleasure to watch on TV.
Also knowing that the sort of Bryson fell off the horse, that it was 3 Euros sort of going at it, you know, Justin Rose and Rory and Ladders and, you know, Ryder Cup at the end of the year, as I said earlier, it's shaping up already. I know that there's a lot of golf still to play and some majors to go through, which is lacquer. I mean, I was also going to mention with Justin Rose, it would be nice to see him win an Open. You know, of all the majors, to get that one would be great, considering how he sort of burst onto the scene there as an amateur, and then that Ryder Cup. I was looking at the Ryder Cup standings; it's looking a bit straggly at the end of those Euro rankings, but my God, those sort of top 6, 7 places are properly strong. So yeah, that's my takeaway there. Tucky?
Just look here. So I've got the final leaderboard here. McIlroy, Rose, Ladders, John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton. Those are in your top 40. Well, yeah. So Hatton and Rahm were T14 there. And then from an American perspective, you've got Scheffler, Bryson, Xander, Harris English, Max Homer, Bubba Watson. So like not guys, let's be honest, I don't see Harris English making might make the Ryder Cup, but like, you know what I mean? I think that the big hitters for Europe are there or thereabouts and showing some form. I guess John Rahm went through every single possible emotion this last week and still finished 18, which I thought was pretty impressive. So like people were saying that he was having big problems, but he still ended up sort of close to the top. So I don't really see many issues there. So I think the Euros are looking very sharp. I think obviously we'll talk about it closer to the top, but I think that they've got a pretty good chance of winning at Bethpage this year.
I mean, the American winners so far this season, forgive me, but I'm going to exclude like Live and DP World Tour events. But you've got Brian Harmon has won, Russell Henley, Joe Highsmith, and Brian Campbell. That's it. And Harris English won the Farmers. Euros, you've got Sepp Straka's won, Rory's won 3 times, Thomas Dietrich, Ludwig, Victor Hovland, and Rory won the Masters. So it's a very good point, and it's going to be very, very interesting. So far, it's been a great start from a Euro perspective.
Bit far off, but it's nice to build it up. It was nice to see Hovland hit some really cracking shots at stages over the 4 days. He also hit some pretty bad stuff as well, but it was nice to see him back. And Tommy also played some decent stuff at various times. Looked like he was going to make his way up the leaderboard. Didn't end up doing that, but jumping the gun big time in terms of the number of months between now and Ryder Cup. But my God, is it going to be hectic?
Guys, I want to get into a little montage with Rory's celebration. Just came up with something on that side, and then I thought we could maybe get into our teams to see how they did, and then maybe round it out with some parting thoughts. Sound good? So,
does indeed,
guys. Basically, Rory's celebration was one of the it was basically side by side with when Tiger won in 2019. The way that the way they did it on TV was Jim Nantz had a one-liner as Rory made the putts basically, and then there was zero commentary for 7 minutes. It was one of the most epic pieces of television that I've ever seen. Basically just kept the cameras on Rory and just getting all of the emotion coming out. I mean, it was, as you saw, there was a lot of emotion. But I broke it down, and I broke it down into there's this. Basically, it was 5 different movies that came out in those 7 minutes. So the first movie was basically the gladiator scene. So this is Rory, kind of slumps to his knees. These are all the great photos that you've seen. It was really kind of amazing and quite special. And then Rory obviously got up from his got up from his knees. And just tell me if you can see that next picture. Are you
his knees
still on his knees? Okay.
Hey,
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. Then it was a scene from The Hangover. Okay. So now we're on to the Hangover scene. Rory was he hugged his caddy Harry, and then he had his his hands on his knees, and I thought at one stage I was oh God, he's gonna vomit. It's too much for him, The moment is too big. And anyway, and then he after this he got up, and then he went into alpha male mode. He gave the big fist pump, and he did beat his. I think he might have beaten his chest. I can't remember. But then when guys get super alpha, their face starts to get a bit swollen. And then just after he'd done that, he then had to go over to his family, and to go do go see his daughter and his wife there. But it kind of reminded me of the scene from Old School. When Frank the Tank shoots himself with the tranquilizer dart, and he's a little bit scary to the kids, And he was so pumped up that shame, he went over to his, obviously gave his wife a hug, but then he went over to his daughter, and his daughter was looking at him like I don't know if I want to come in here. This looks a bit too much. Shame. I mean, obviously you've got a lot on you, but I mean the emotions were riding high, and Rory's face there was still quite a bit of blood rushing to his face. Yeah, and then obviously leaves the family behind, and then he starts to walk up through the crowd. And this was the most, I don't know if you guys watched this, but this was for me the most incredible, basically about 2 minutes where he's walking through the crowd, and he's just he's completely overcome with emotion. He's looking up at the sky, he's wiping his head, and the crowd is just going mad. And to me, this was kind of like Lord of the Rings, this is Frodo, coming back, returning to the Shire, after finally delivering the ring into the fires of Mordor, and he's got the whole crowd kind of welcoming him home. It was quite a scene. And then at the end, right at the end of the scene, we've basically got we've got Wedding Crashers here. So this is This is where he meets up with Shane Lowry and all his chums, like right at the end of the tunnel. And it's kind of like party mode, big smiles and that. So it was quite a kind of 6 minutes of TV. And if you guys haven't watched it, I would highly encourage you to go watch it, because it's proper theatre. Seeing the emotions that came out of him, it really was quite something.
Just he just was too big.
No, I reckon he was too buggered. I reckon maybe he tried, but surely. I mean, the oak's got to collapse. I mean, he put 18 holes worth of effort into celebrating on that 18th green. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he could have like popped a valve, 100%. And then I was going to say at Teabag, it was indeed a great scene. I mean, it was epic, and I think that's why Jim Nance and those oaks are the best at what they do. And it was an epic piece of broadcasting, capping it off by seeing that ridiculous sort of face of the chairman. What's his name? Ridley. Wasn't the best epic scene, to be honest. I find that oak so flipping over the top and Americanized and all of that.
Yeah. Now, after this amazing emotion, you got to come and sit in our little cabin where no one talks, and we're gonna
super creepy.
We're gonna put the green jacket on you. It is so creepy, bro. That's the one part of the Masters where I'd be like, if they got rid of that Butler Cabin thing, like, I'm good. Like put the jacket on the guy at the ceremony.
The creepiest part is Fred Ridley, the chairman. That oak in itself, he is a creep. There's no doubt about it. That oak's a creep. And then the defending champion from the year before, he doesn't know what the fuck to do with himself. Does he speak? Does he pat the oak? Does he shake his hand? He's like, I don't want to really be the protagonist here. It's not my moment. I'm not even meant to frickin' be here. I'm actually really disappointed because I didn't do anything today, or whatever the case may be. And now you've got to like do that and then go back out and do it all over again in front of everyone else. It's a weird, it's like a weird sort of end to that epic moment. It's like a big, you sort of come down from those heights.
The most bizarre thing is how they like sit in a semicircle and they're like all looking at each other, and then like Jim starts speaking, and then it's obviously not pre-rehearsed or anything like that, so no one really knows what the hell's going on. And then so Jim Nance talks, and then it's like then old Riddles talks, and then Rory. It's so bizarre how they do it, and they can just do the whole thing outside in front of everyone, and it's all quiet. It's just so weird.
It's like they have to do. It's like they're convinced they have to do like it as like a private ceremony. Like that tradition has to stay. Like we can only do this. We can only have the chairman there and the former champion, and it has to be done in this like very, very awkward setting. And then we're going to go outside and do it again in front of everyone. Yeah, it's I was just trying to think actually when I was watching, because like there have been years when the previous champion has missed the cut, so he has to stick around. I think that happened with Sergio. I think Sergio won and then missed the cut the next year. I think that was the year when he made that like 12.
It gets even creepier at Teabag when there's the leading amateur there as well. So you've got this like really super weird like chairman, then Jim Nance, who's talking in these like hushed tones because there's no other volume in that room. You've got the champion, the former champion, and then like a child that's like standing there who's won the amateur thing. It's like super like rich boys club, American rich boys club, like you wouldn't put it past them to like be like a sacrifice or something in that very moment, Yeah, it's super weird, super cringe. I really like the way they do it outside on the green, and the crowd like stays there, and because there's volume and there's atmosphere in that. But like Butler's Cabin is it's so quiet, and even Jim Nance, who's got that like amazing voice for commentary, I mean, he's talking in hushed tones. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
You've just reminded me of last year when this guy was Neil Shipley was the the leading amateur, and we had that awkward No, like, so I actually had that written down in my things of like stuff they could get rid of. Like Butler Cabin's probably at the top of my list. Like, yeah, see ya. We don't need that. But yeah, guys, before we go into our so for the rest, if you guys hopefully listen to our Major Goat podcast, you know we've picked our battlegrounds have been set now. We did our draft of players for all the majors, and we have a scoring system in place. Should we have a look and see quickly where we're sitting, guys?
Let's do it.
Taki, while I get that up, I wanted to ask you, I noticed you had a comment on, might have seen something on social media around the Masters social media content. What were your takes on it? Is there too much content that they're trying to get out in like a week?
Like this year I just couldn't keep up with it. Like, on the Instagram stories and stuff is usually like it's really succinct and easy to follow. You can follow it day by day. But like this year, they were doing, I don't know whether because Monday was rained out, so they had to sort of fill in a bit of time and content there. But also just through the week, it was bizarre. Like a lot of history stuff, but that's not really what I was in for. You know, I'm in to see the golf. I'm in to like tell me what's happening. Like if I'm on the Instagram stories, I want to know what's going on the grounds and stuff like that. And I felt they did so much, and it just I got lost. I got lost in a lot of it. But like it's always, you know, it's just a top quality. Make sure that
when I saw you put that out, I was like, I had that feeling like the whole week as well. I was like, I'm feeling a little bit. I think what I love about the Masters is kind of the allure of it, and like the almost like what you don't know about the club, and like the secrecy, and you know how do all the divots just disappear overnight, and like who knows, you know, like are there speakers in the trees? Maybe like and like I don't know if I need to see like every like how the table is set for the champions. Give me the menu and give me like that photo of like all the champions, and
who's there?
like let me just and I think also like now with the way that like social algorithms and that work, like, you know, they kind of, the more you watch, the more other stuff you start getting. And I found like, obviously there's a lot of stuff that's been regurgitated as well by like other channels, but it did become, I found I was like, I actually need to tap out of this a little bit. Like give me 3 or 4 photos a day from like the grounds and that. Like I'm good with that, you know, like until we tee off. Like there was a lot going on, a lot of like interviews, and I guess maybe it's also because I consume other golf content as well. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I would like to see them just reining back a little, like show us a little bit less of like, you know, behind the scenes stuff. Keep some stuff a little bit of a mystery. So yeah, I'm with you.
Did you see in terms of the content? Did you see and in terms of what's creepy in that the footage of the little like rooms or cabiny thing upstairs in the clubhouse that the amateur golfers are meant to stay in? I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it literally
the crow's nest.
It looks like a room where Bad Oak's not going to make it through the night because he's going to get murdered.
Shit,
it looks like a horror movie scene. The bed looks like something from the 70s, and everything's so freaking weird in that room. Like, there's no ways I'd want to stay in there. No matter no one made the cut. They probably trying to protect their lives in there, you know, especially in like an old boys club like that. But yeah, I agree. Like, there was a shit ton happening there with that footage, and I don't feel like it was this hectic last year. Like, it feels like they ramped it up. I mean, like you say, T, like I think those unknowns, those sort of like conspiracies, those are epic. Like, keep those, you know, like get someone to go around and check the trees for speakers, and you know, put these articles out about, no, it's the broadcaster, no, it's on site, or whatever the case may be. You know, like I quite like that, you know, keep it. I mean, the no phones thing has worked out for them big time. I mean, the crowds there's no doubt they're more engaged. The players, not every single player, but a lot of the players spoke about how they felt like the crowd was far more engaged. So there are things that work, but yeah, I agree. It was a big data dump for like 3 days, you know, and almost like you're so psyched for that first tee shot, but now you're not so psyched because you've you've been consumed by this. But
I mean,
but, you know,
the no phones thing is kind of the like which I absolutely love, but that's what makes the extreme social content thing like a bit like a bit confusing in some ways, because it's like they're putting so much contradictory. They're putting so much effort into that, and you know what? They had like a ton of like influencers and stuff there. Like get those guys out of there. Like honestly, I know what you're saying about the chairman and that, but like I'd rather have like I'll tap into like the chairman Ridley's like annual press conference. Like I don't need like some influencer that's like gonna skip balls across like the 16th pond. Like come on, like get that guy out of there.
they don't need it though. They absolutely don't need it.
They don't need
they've got
it.
so much
The
going
par
for
3
them
contest is. The par 3 contest is starting to move into like a bit of a gray area for me as well. Like, I don't know. I think next year I might maybe I tapped into the content too early this year, and maybe it's because we're doing some content stuff in that ourselves. But like, I think next year I'm going to take a very low key approach to kicking off. Maybe start my content week tucky on like Thursday evening for the Masters.
Yeah, you need to work into it slowly.
Yeah, so it was a lot. Okay, guys, we started our major Go championship. I mean, I think the easiest way for us to do this is really just to run through, everyone's team. Obviously, we did hit a winner with JDV hitting Rory. Justin Rose very nearly stole JDV's lunch straight out of his lunchbox there, which would have been devastating for JDV. I mean, Hoff, I'll start with you. You had first pick. How are you feeling about your Sea Bears pick? A little miscut. Obviously didn't cost you any points, but you obviously you got to be looking at where Scheffler and Rory finish going. It'd be quite nice to have those sort of 35 or 15 points.
Not particularly. I mean,
he's doubling down.
Why do I need to look? Yeah. Do I need to look at Scheffler and Rory when I've got ladders? Yeah, he shut the bed at the end there, but we could be talking a different story. It was two holes. So Bryson. I've got Bryson as well, so I'm pretty happy with them leading my team, to be honest. And I think
it did look good for you for a while there.
I mean, Corey Connors also came right, which I wasn't really surprised about at the Masters. I don't hold much hope for him going into the other majors. Maybe the PGA Championship. He would be a good PGA Championship champion, I think. And I say that sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of thing.
I think he's going to get a lot of points for you, to be honest. He'll do a lot of top 10s and 20s.
But to the Sea Bears, like, I'd rather have a crack at some points with the South Africans, and he's going to be in all the majors. Aldrich will hopefully be in most of the majors. So I'm pretty happy at T-Bag. I mean, you mentioned it on our WhatsApp group in the week that, Rory won, and so Jacques got all those points, but he was negative on everyone else. So, across the board in my team, there's only 3 zeros, 2 of which were the Saffers. I'm pretty content about the overall structure and performance of my spun.
Okay. No, it's good to hear. I'm glad you're not backing down from your Sea Bears pick. Look, would have been nice to have seen him make a cut. Tucky, it was fairly low profile for you. Not a huge amount going on with some of your sort of more field picks that you made. Shane Lowry, 42, Tommy, 21.
Shane Lowry completely shut the bed. He shot 9 over on the final day. So he went from 5 under to 4 over par. That could end very differently there. Tommy was just average. Wyndham Clark average. Love Dog's got to come to the party for me in the next 3. Big time. Man, the man was absolutely nowhere this week. But I am
just not his course. Just not his course.
I am genuinely slightly concerned with my team. Scotty's got to pull me through for the rest of the year.
Are you any more concerned about picking Jacques Kruijswijk, considering he's not actually qualified for any of the majors? Or are you not worried about the Saffers? Saffers just a free swing.
It's not as feely because he gets of the job. Watch him. Watch him putt.
Okay. Well, look, we can talk about, JDV obviously picked a winner. He had Ram, who finished 14th, very uncompetitive for the 14th. The best live player in the world, Neiman, who finished 29th. Tyrrell Hatton kind of shut the bed on the weekend. He ended up 14th. And then, Zalatoris missing the cut, as well as old Tristan. Obviously, heavily weighted by Rory's performance. But my goodness, if Rory's freed up now, JDV's got to be feeling pretty comfortable about racking up possibly another W before the end of the year. Look, guys, as for the sort of dickheads team, I think they are who we thought they were. Morikawa again just likes to pop his head up and then disappear. Honestly, the guy I was most impressed with is Xander. I didn't know what to expect out of Xander, and for him to play well on the weekend, get into the top 10, I'm happy with that. The Augusta's not his course. I'm feeling confident about JT for the rest of the venues. Look, Russell Henry is just a prick. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He's just not a nice human. And then the same goes for Patrick Cantler. Finished 36. Yeah, Taki, I echo your sentiments about my side. I'm not in love with him, but there's a lot of golf left. I think Augusta. The one thing next year when I make my golf champs and my actual financial betting, the only stats I'm looking at next year is previous history at Augusta. Forget form and all of that stuff, because there's no doubt that place brings out the best in people and it brings out the worst in other people. I must say, the one guy I'm feeling very confident about going into the PGA is Burmese. I really think Quail Hollow is going to set up well for Dean Burmester. Donnie, just glad that he'll be there. I have confirmed that Donnie will be there, guys. So he is going to get a start. Just so you know.
We mentioned.
So yeah, lot of golf left. You can look, I didn't get off the starting line, so I'm still stuck on 0. Taki just with a little neat 5 points, off with 19, and JDV with 31, which is really, as you said, Taki, on our chat, the sustainability flags are flashing already for JDV there, considering he got 35 for Rory and he ended up on 31. I think he's got to be a little worried about that. Hoff, you must be feeling quietly confident, I think.
I'm feeling very happy, T-Bag. I must say, I'm happy with the structure of my team. I'm happy with my Saffers to maybe sneak in a few points there. And I'm happy with my big dogs. I mean, I'm relatively shocked that I chose a South African first and still ended with the big dogs that I have. And is that a little bit of a slight at you guys? Absolutely, yes, it is. I'm over the moon with my team. I can't stand Bryson, but I'm glad that he's in my team. And Ludders has got the big game for the big occasion. So, Corey Connors is going to always be boringly there. So I'm super stoked. I mean, 19 points without a winner, without any Saffir points, very few zeros in the column. Happy, very happy.
Are you going to win a major with your team?
I may very well win a major with my team, Tucky, and I think Bryson's always a US Open, US PGA Championship shout, wherever it is. It's just so American and it just fits him. To win those trophies. So I think he's probably the biggest shout. Not probably, he is the biggest shout. But I mean, I would be absolutely over the moon if Ludders could add one. I mean, it's definitely a waiting game for Ludders. It's going to happen at some stage. Whether it happens this year, I hope so, obviously. But those are the two big dogs, and then the other oaks are just. This is like golf championships. If you're not going for the win, just make the cut, get the points, move on to the next event, and that's how you rack up 19 points. So hopefully the US PGA Championship can be a similar similar affair.
I think as a podcast, the fact that Ladders was picked up as the 8th pick feel a bit silly about that now in retrospect. So I think Ladders could win the US Open. I'm gonna pick Ladders to win at Oakmont. I think with his driving game, I think that's going to be a really good course fit for Ladders. You could probably say the same for Bryson, although Bryson's irons in that need some serious work. I mean, his around the green game was saving him at Augusta. So I think Ladders could be a great pick for Oakmont. But so is Colin Morikawa. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves, gentlemen. What a great Masters 2025. I really hope the rest of the majors this year can deliver. There's absolutely no ways that they're going to be able to deliver a storyline like we had this weekend. But we've got a new chapter now. We've got a new chapter for Rory McIlroy. This is a new act. This is the third act. Maybe there's a fourth act. He's had 13 years. Was it 13 years between his first major to this major? And don't forget, Tiger had 22 years between his first major and his last major. So that gives Rory like another, 9 years, a window to win a couple more majors if you go on the same kind of logic. So who knows what's going to happen, guys.
He's fit, and he looks like he's going to.
He's not banging waitresses as far as we know.
Well,
he's got I don't think he's got an alleged opioid issue. I think he should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, he should win. He should win another major. He should win more than one more major, to be honest. And for me with the majors, it's always Masters and Open. The other two are, you watch them because they're on and it's lacquer and it's the best players in the world. But I would ideally, the guys that I follow, it's Green Jacket and Claret Jug, and I'd really like him to get another Claret Jug. I would like him to finish his career. Yeah. The Royal Portrush. I'd like him to finish his career with more Masters and or Opens than the US Open or PGA Championship, and obviously he has 2 PGA Championships. So I think there's still lots of room for him, and it's exciting because Scheffler's not going to lie down. I think JT will get inspired by this. Xander's, I agree with you, T-Bag coming back from injury, he looked like he was on the up. So Bryson should shape up. Ladders, it's an exciting start to the major season.
Yeah, we need to see something from John Rahm. Okay, to round it off, you touched on it there. We'll go around the room. Does Rory win another major this year, and how many majors does he finish on in his career?
I'm going to say he's not going to win another major this year, just to try and get my head out of recency bias, because it does feel like he's going to win another one. But I'm going to say he's not going to win another one this year. How many does he finish on? I'm going to say 7, so 2 more.
So that was my number. No, I think he wins another one this year. Think how well he's played so far this year. Take this week out of the equation. He's playing incredible golf, and we've got another major not in a few weeks' time. So I don't see why he can't carry on.
I think that this win is going to take a lot out of him, but I do think that he could win another major this year. I don't think it will be the PGA or the US Open. I think the PGA is in like a month's time. I think this has been a lot for Rory. But I think he could absolutely win at Portrush, and so I would say yes. I have a take that Rory is desperate to end on more majors than Phil Mickelson. I believe that when Rory looks at the targets now on the all-time majors list, I believe that it probably grinds him a little bit. I know Phil made a few comments previously about Rory not being at the Champions Dinner, and like it was a way to needle Rory a little bit. He's obviously ticked that box now. I think Rory really wants to get past Phil. Phil's got 6, right? Phil finished on 6, so we're talking about 2 more to get past him. I will go with, sure. I'm just to be a little bit different. I think 7's probably the right number. I'm going to say 8 because of the fact that I genuinely think he's got like another decade of potential major winning golf in him. I know 45 is old, but I think that with Augusta now, being able to play there for as long as he likes, Augusta and the Open are the 2 majors where the guys tend to compete at older ages. So I'm going to go with 8. Guys, what a cracking episode. Thanks everyone for joining. Please keep following us on our socials, on Instagram. We'll have some video clips coming up there. We also have an interview coming up shortly with none other than Michael Hollick, who won the season-ending Sunshine Tour event. So Taki caught up with Michael last week, and we'll have that interview coming out probably sometime in the next week. And otherwise, plenty of golf and golf-adjacent stuff that the guys have been simmering over. Probably going to try and get a little bit away from pro golf after the last couple of weeks. So try and get some off-course stuff. But till then, if you guys are all good, let the pod end.
Cheers, boys.